All right, Ingram Smith, Bud Elliott back again for another episode of the Nolecast. So, Bud, entertaining weekend that we have a chance to look back on here. Florida State moves to 5-0, and as always, we'll thank our wonderful sponsor, Tarpon Cellars Winery. TarponCellars.com is the website there, and the coupon code Nolecast will get you 20% off your order. And then always a shout out to the good people in New Iberia, Louisiana hot sauce. But I haven't been able to talk to you in a couple days, so I'm legitimately excited for the conversation we're about to have.
Absolutely, man. A nice 39-17 win. But I would like to see Notification Gang shout out. I'd like to see the likes get up more. Let's give you guys some time to do that. I think we should kill off, I don't know, like a minute 30. So
a minute 30.
I'm
Just
going to go ahead and kneel here.
Quick rundown. Yeah, you got to get it.
Okay. Take off about 40 seconds. Guys, get those likes up if you could.
Quick 40-second runoff here.
Yeah, man. So, did you see anything fun this weekend?
I still haven't gotten over the Miami game, man. I mean, and kind of the Zapruder film review of it. I mean, this just makes it all the more funny.
I've been finding some more fun stuff. Like I don't know how many TikToks I can shoot for CBS on this, but I have 3 more in the clip that I have not unloaded yet. All right, hold on. That was 40.
40, good. Now, let's get another one in.
Okay, another 40. Okay. All right. Yeah. Here we go.
And congratulations. We have now successfully run a game out. That is that's Bud in the victory formation, and that's not losing us a game that we otherwise had a 99.9% win likelihood.
That was amazing. Good God.
Amazing.
It keeps getting more hilarious each day. Like immediately it's like, wow, this is brain dead. But I mean, look, I was the guy on Cover 3 who had Mario rated the highest, like by far. I'm like, I know what you get with him. Mm-hmm. You get elite level recruiting, a guy who recruits nonstop. Nobody outworks him in recruiting. Like, and he holds his staff to a higher work ethic in recruiting than any staff I know. Just more than Saban, anybody like that. Like he works those guys like crazy. But the game management is more frequently than you'd like, kind of a disaster, right? So yeah, it's just bad. He has done this before against Oregon, or when he was at Oregon against Stanford.
Yeah.
He also, if you recall, Oregon's current quarterback, Bo Nix, once played for Auburn in a game against Justin Herbert, who's now the quarterback of the Chargers and really damn good. And Oregon had the game not won, but essentially won. And Bo Nix is able to throw essentially a Hail Mary, not a true Hail Mary. It was like a 45-yard pass, but it was like a last-second prayer heave to the end zone. And they had that last second because Oregon, on the drive in which they were trying to run out the clock, was snapping the ball with like 15 seconds and 18 seconds left and just basically failed to run off an extra minute, which did prove costly there. So I had a real big blunder in 18, had one in 19. He's going to get them a boatload of talent, and they're going to win a bunch of games with him. That's what he does. But he routinely does mess up these games. It just kind of is what it is, you know? I
mean, that's his... I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the not so instant reaction I did, but I mean, that's one of the worst losses that I've seen, as far as just like no subjectivity, no gray area. Your head coach lost the game. Now, whether you want to say it was a coordinator or whatever, no. Your head coach lost the game. That'll be interesting to see what the longer term ramifications of that are.
What's the Tom Cruise movie? It's a John Grisham movie.
The Firm,
where they show him the photos.
The Firm.
Talk about how they can shake the confidence. I'm shocked our friend Jeff Cameron did not go with the shaking confidence, the Firm scene. Because like if you're a big time Miami booster or somebody like that, I do think you lose confidence in this. Mm-hmm. Hell, I think it's very open to, like, are Miami's players going to lose confidence in this guy? Like, the video's out there now. It appears that Alex Mirabal, his right-hand man, who was also on the sideline during the Oregon-Stanford debacle 4 years ago, he appears to tell them, take a knee. Like, it's trying to talk outside the headset to him, right?
Yeah, that's like when people were
Matt
like,
Lee's
well,
crying on the sideline.
I would have said something in the headset or whatever. I'm like, who's to say nobody didn't? I mean,
yeah, it appears that they did.
Yeah.
And that they were trying to get this kid 100 yards.
I mean, that I can't confirm that, but I can tell you that I've believed that is true. I'll put it that way, based off things that were shared with other people in the ecosystem. So I very much think that's a legitimate idea, which is hilarious in and of itself as well. But yeah.
That was wild. Look, they're still a really talented team. We sit here and clown on them. You still need to beat them in Tallahassee, right? Otherwise, they're going to come back and clown on you. Hey, look, you guys just lost to a coach that doesn't know how to count, right? But that is, I mean, you got the best player on that offense is Matt Lee, the center, the UCF transfer. I mean, I think he's going to be he's a really, really good college center, and they got him from UCF. That was one that UCF was pretty annoyed to lose. I'll tell you that. Like, UCF thought that kid was a stud. I mean, he's crying on the sideline and repeatedly saying, I'm reading the lips here, like, what the F are we doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of your leaders. Like, we'll see. They get the Drake May experience this weekend up in Chapel Hill. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm obviously far from an unbiased observer, but I took a look at Miami's schedule yesterday.
Did you?
There's a lot on there that could go wrong still. So we'll just see. I mean, they are talented. They did a good job in the portal, particularly at offensive line, with some of the pieces that they brought in, and I think that's gonna, assuming those guys continue to be bought in, and offensive line is always the most important. I really think the more and more you get deeper into the season, that if you've got two lines of scrimmage that continue to give a damn as you get through October and November, that that's more and more how games are won. So Miami's got some nice pieces. It'll be a hell of a story to watch how it unfolds.
Georgia Tech did make him Van Dyke pat the ball, by the way.
Yeah, it was bad Van Dyke again, definitely. Yeah. I mean,
I don't think he sees it. I think they have to scheme it up for him. Like, the arm is incredible. The accuracy, when he knows where to go with it, is really damn good. I just don't think he sees it. Like, if you leave guys open and he knows that they're going to be open, he's going to kill you. But I don't know. After watching A&M Bama, how many times did A&M leave guys wide ass open against Alabama? I mean, that's going to be on Adam Fuller to confuse and to confuse Tyler Van Dyke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if simplicity is the right strategy there, but we shall see. Let's talk some Florida State, man.
Let's talk some Florida State. And did you not run it again in Prize Picks? Certainly looked like it.
We profited. We did not hit the 25x.
So
but
we
did
4 out of 5. Okay.
Yeah, I think both the ones we sent, both the on the show one and then the people wanted to follow up one for Twitter. Both those went to 4 out of 5. So
okay, all right, yeah, no, that's nice.
Doubled
that's
up.
Is that a double? I couldn't remember if that was a 2.5 or okay. Yeah, no, that's solid. That is very solid.
I wanted Schrader to get that rushing touchdown, and he did not get it. So that was a little disappointing. But everything else went basically to form. A little scared when Jordan threw that fadeaway to the didn't see the linebacker. That could have cost it, but kid didn't pick it, and it would have been a nice pick. So for the backer, not for us on Prize Picks. So yeah, promo code NOLCAST 100% deposit match bonus on Prize Picks. Really fun way to increase your viewing experience on the weekend. So Jordan not to throw a pick, that hits. Jamari Thrash less than 75.5 receiving yards. He had 75.
All right, there you
One
go.
by half. Luther Burden more than 109.5 receiving yards. Burden had 149. So, and it was, I think he hit in the first half.
Comfortable.
Trey Benson,
nice.
more than a half rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
He gets his rushing touchdown.
That was my contribution. Bud chips in at about 88%. And I might have one a week, but good.
I wish I could chip in 88% of the time in golf, man.
Yeah.
As much as I miss the green. The other miss that I had on the other card, so the 4 out of 5, Dominic Lovett, more than 3 receptions. Really actually loved that play and didn't hit that one, but still saw a lot of Nolecast folks hit on their own cards as well. So shout out to everybody who's having fun responsibly with prize picks. 39-17, sellout crowd. Sounds like a pretty good weekend was had, man. I saw you guys are running the 5-0, $50 for the Battles End promo.
Yeah, we did that. I put a link in the chat and then I put a link in comments, and YouTube deleted both of them. So I guess I need to just put some more context around there. Otherwise, they just thought it was a spam link and got zapped. But no, you can always go to thebattlesend.com and support us any way that you feel comfortable. Great to see the growth that the organization's had, particularly coming out of the bye week there. And yeah, we're just, we're starting to figure out how to do tailgates and everything else in a little bit better manner. So it was a lot of fun on Saturday, and it's a good time. It's a good time. So Saturday ended up weather-wise just being like just the perfect damn day, man. It was a little warm starting out, but that was one of those days that it's like 6 o'clock and you just look up and you're like, man, I'd love another 4 hours of this. This is just this is literally just perfect. So it was a hell of a day.
100%, man. That is it. It was finally crisp outside today when I put the kids in the car to go to school here in Orlando, and it was finally crisp. It felt good.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of good, a good effort from Florida State, I would say. Like, could be better. Wasn't like big time disappointing. I thought you largely took care of business. You want to go O or D first?
Yeah, let's do the defense first. We'll start. Let's see, couple injury notes. I was wrong when I said that Tatum Bethune sounded like he came into the game healthy. He sounded like he was on a pretty defined snap count, actually. And which actually, I think I heard that term more this week for different guys across the roster than I've heard this year, certainly. So I think Bethune was one of those guys, and it sounds like he played a couple snaps and then just decided it'd be better to sit this one out. And this is a stretch in the schedule that if you can do that, that's the way to do it. So I don't think that's a concern long term. It is not my understanding. Not a doctor. This is not an official statement by any means, but I don't think what he's going through right now is tied to any of the other challenges from an injury perspective that he's ever had either. So it's not a continuing issue. So
I'm going to take this as an official statement from the new team doctor.
From the new team, yeah. Trust me, I can.
Yes.
I did not have the academic chops to ever have doctor put next to my name, or at least the academic patience to ever have doctor put next to my name. I'll put it that way.
You said you had a couple injury notes.
Well, just there were more guys on defined, snap counts than I've heard previously. I mean, Jaheim Bell certainly fell into that category as well. I actually talked to Akeem Dent yesterday for a totally different issue. He was had a little bit of a getting worked back into rotation, but sounds like the hamstring there has recovered very well. And I think by probably Duke that's a full green light. So again, nothing official, just, responding to what a kid tells you. Oh.
This is a good example of what we talked about 3 weeks ago. If you get through this first month, the month of October is largely going to be kind of what like a Michigan had to a lesser extent, because they're conference games and they're not like low level G5 guys, but maybe more similar to like what a Kentucky had in the month of September, right? you are going to have a lot of inferior opponents where you are going to be favored by 2 scores, 3 scores, 4 scores. 2 scores, you really can't do this kind of stuff. 4 scores, like you were against the Hokies, you can do a lot of this stuff. Virginia Tech's a bad football team. They lack talent. They're extremely one-dimensional on offense. They're not real twitchy. They, defensively, the linebackers are awful. You can rotate a lot of guys in, and I think that's a smart approach to keep getting. When we talked about this, go back to the snap count draft. How many games you would want to get guys work in? I almost want to start with the officiating, because I really don't think I've seen Norvell go nuclear on these guys like that. Have you seen him do this before? Like you could tell, I think, that he knew this team wanted to come out fast, wanted to blow their ass out, wanted to get a lot of the young guys in and give the young guys a lot of reps.
Melina Myers is a follow on Twitter. She's a professional photographer and does great work. I think she shared, I don't think it was her photo. I think she said it was her mentor's photo, but I'll go find it in the Nolecast account and retweet it, because dude, these pictures are exceptional, and Mike looks like he's about to kill somebody. I mean, it is the most animated I've ever seen Mike in his time here, and having a friend that I went to college with who coached with him at Memphis, that's not. I mean, Mike is a passionate, intense guy, especially on game day. But I don't know that I've ever seen him where I'm like, Mike might hit this guy. I mean, he was heated. He was real heated.
Well, I mean, you're up 22-0. You wanted to come out of the bye week and start fast. Slow starts have at times been something that people worry about with this football team. And I think he knows they're like about a score away from being able to play the backups for a lot of the second half. They ended up playing a lot of the backups anyway and got him in earlier in the game. It was another heavy rotation game for this football team. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I watched it. I had mixed feelings. Like because we're talking about the defense here, there are 2 calls against the defense that pretty drastically changed the game, right? That allow these drives to extend. The non-call on the crackback on the quarterback scramble. Now, that's going to be a successful scramble regardless. It's not going to go for 40 yards and totally flip the field. I mean, I understand why they were so heated about that, but that has been, it's literally a point of emphasis this year. They changed the rule. They're instructed to call it when in doubt, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that screwed you right there, honestly. And I'm not saying you didn't get away with anything either, but like that was a pretty big one in the moment. And then the late hit on Byron Turner on the quarterback, the roughing the passer call, where A.Z. Thomas makes best interceptions in Florida State history. Number 1 is Terrence Brooks, I think, against NC State. The amount of ground he covered on that to go from like a down in the box player on the near hash to like sprinting back Ed Reed style to picking it off. A.Z. Thomas keeping his feet in bounds is nuts. Like
it is nuts. It is nuts.
That's up there.
That's up there. The Greg Reed slingshot. Now, this is not an athletic. This is just a guy who's a little crafty and gets away with an obvious pass interference. Is always one of my favorites because he does literally use BYU's guy to propel him into the lane to intercept it, and he's to the house. And what a good time with Greg. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot. Dion has a couple against Auburn, and
the one. Who got it? What was it? Was it Sean Jackson who gets it against Miami and runs it back? This is like in 90. Was it 93? The chat one.
Bush.
It was Bush.
Safety
That's right.
Bush.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that was what 30 years ago.
Yeah, they're celebrating that team this week. So yeah, Devin Bush. first round pick of the Falcons, if I recall correctly.
Stud.
Can you?
But I mean, like
You're
that-
better at this than I am. Can you show those photos that I put in the chat from the Nolecast account? Just
I
for
can. Yeah,
for people
I think.
who are
YouTube
YouTube watching, you can see one of them has Mike's like lips, or it's just funny, man. Dude looks like he's gonna kill somebody. So
vamped for like 30 seconds so I can.
yeah, no, I'm just looking through the. Should have had that AZ interception, the cinematic recap. Regardless, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm trying to think of any other just wildly fantastic interceptions. I mean, Derek Brooks, through 3 weeks, Florida State's opponents had scored 20 points, and Derek Brooks had scored 21. He was just as good as undercutting a slant route as anybody that I've ever seen play. Yeah, that's one with the lips that literally looks like he's going to.
And the fist. That's quality.
Yeah, he's ready to go. He's ready to go.
Mike got kind of fancy for this. Actually, like wore the quarter zip and the sleeveless quarter zip.
It's the black is his look this year. He left gray behind, and he's moved to the black hoodie and the black QZ as well. But yeah, he's about it. He's about it.
It's a good look. The other one he's pissed about, which we'll talk about on the offensive side, is the Ja'Kai PI.
No, I mean that's right. So. Look, there's not like I've got a friend who covers Clemson. Said that Dabo was probably as animated with the officials as he's ever seen them this weekend in the Wake Forest game. The officials in this conference are just very, very poor, and it's a problem. And it's not a Florida State specific problem, but it is wild. And in a year in which now look, I agree with you. I don't think there's going to be 3 undefeated teams, but in a year in which you've got 3 teams that are very much part of the national story halfway through the season, it's unfortunate just the level of officiating that this conference has for whatever reason that is the case.
And I think it starts with a lack of good officials to draft from, honestly. Like I don't think that like other leagues have vastly superior officiating. I mean, we've seen just some absolute I was going to say a word that starts with F and it ends with Uri, but yes. We were a family-friendly show. Like Pac-12, Big 12 are really, really pretty bad. The SEC, like the crew doing the Missouri game is kind of a known crew of suspicion. So yeah, I agree with you. I do think that there is the issue of at the lower levels. I go to these 7-on games, I go to these high school games. These parents treat these officials like, I mean, I would not do it. Like you couldn't pay me $25 to go out there for 90 minutes to be an official with how these parents act. So I think you probably have a lot of qualified people who are athletic enough and experienced, probably played the game, understand kind of how game flow works, know what they're looking at. Like, why would you do it?
Right.
Like, and so eventually that hurts the supply of good officials. I would never officiate a 7-on game. Like there's a lot of bad officials out there. I'm like, man, the people doing this, there's a couple that I think are like generally know what they're doing, but there's a lot of it. It's like, man, this guy's trying his best. He needs the $25.
Yeah.
Get off him.
Yeah. And it's tough. And there is still the element of error in this, even with there was a call in a English Premier League game a week ago in which VAR, video assisted replay or whatever it stands for. I mean, they just botched it. They botched it horribly. And they actually have the audio of the guys as they botch it. And then they start arguing with each other like it's the wrong call. Like it's definitely the wrong call. And he's like, well, we've already started the game again, blah, blah, blah. So I think the idea that technology is going to remove some of this is flawed and is not the case. And I think from a real 30,000 foot perspective, we need to have a conversation as to the best way to incorporate technology and also not over and hyper analyze things. And what the use of technology and the evaluations of targeting, I think, is legitimately one of the worst thing that's ever happened in the sport.
Yeah.
To go frame by frame and look at a kid who's got 25 to, well, I don't know, the shoulder pads and helmets are not, they've done a good job on those. Things aren't nearly as heavy and bulky as they used to be, but you're not just running around playing two-hand touch, man. You've got
Right.
wearing stuff, you're running as fast as you can. The other dude is one of the most agile and athletic guys on the planet, and you're aiming for his you're aiming for his ribs, and you end up grazing his face mask, and we're
Because he
kicking
ducks
people out
into
of
it.
games for that. I mean, it's we've just lost the plot when it comes to officiating the sport, and I don't know that it's going to get better. So
Yeah, I don't include the Jordan sliding non-call in my stuff because Jordan is sliding super late, oftentimes in traffic.
mhm,
There's no real reasonable expectation that the defender should be able to pull up and avoid him when he slides as late as he does. The slide rule is intended to be a give up. Okay.
right,
I'm in open space. I'm getting down. I'm availing myself of the protection of the rule. You're not supposed to be using this slide in traffic. Okay. And then also be able to get a penalty for it. Like, that's nuts. These guys are already in their tackling motion in many cases when Jordan slides and gets whacked.
mhm,
Like, if I'm an official, if I'm on an opposing team, I'm telling him, hey, you can't be calling this on my defenders. This kid is basically sliding. Like, I know Jordan's not trying to draw the penalty, although the constant like pointing to the
right.
head, like, hey, I want the targeting call, it makes it appear that he is.
I
But
could
if
I
I'm
could
Brent
go without
Fry,
anybody requesting a targeting call,
no doubt.
whether a head coach on the field. I mean, that's clownish from Virginia Tech. That's
Yeah,
it's not what we need
totally.
to do. It's not. Look, you just don't see the hits that they wanted to take out of the game. They've taken out of the game. You don't see a safety with a 12-yard run up come up and launch himself anymore. I just don't know that there's a whole lot of. I mean, this game is played by large guys with violent attitudes. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. Otherwise, let's turn it into whatever the tennis equivalent of a paddle ball is or
Right.
whatever, and when we'll just do that because you can't do it. You can't fricking do it. You can't take collisions out of this sport. So
Totally.
yeah,
I I am worried about Jordan sliding in traffic because I think he's going to continue to get hit with it. And if you like, it's not real safe to get hit when you're sliding, right? Because sliding is sort of like, hey, it's a clear give up signal. It's safe to slide because you're not getting hit. I actually think the way they go down with like not just Jordan, but any player like who slides in traffic, you're inviting your leg to get wrapped up underneath you, right? It's not a real safe position to get whacked in,
yeah,
right?
no, I mean, and you're losing all your so, like, when I was in 8th grade, there was a Sports Illustrated article about a guy, who was a football player. I can't remember exactly who it was. My dad cut the article out and made me put it on my wall, and it said that the guy realized that football's a game of, force and acceleration, and the guy whose force and acceleration is the highest ends up putting his mass into the other person. And I'm saying when you go into this kind of lazy baseball slide, you lose everything. You're going to
Right.
absorb every ounce of the hit that you get on you. So, um, yeah, we've kind of found 5 minutes of us just talking about the sport in general and where it
I'm
is right
worried about
now.
it
But
though.
yeah,
Like this is not a good trend for Jordan to do. Like he is not protecting himself by sliding this late in traffic.
yeah. Grillmaster makes a great comment too that the second that Pickett did the fake slide, like, yeah, we just at that point you're asking defender
Yeah.
you've put defenders in a horrible situation, and now you've put them in an impossible situation. If a quarterback can hit you with a fake slide, stutter step, and then start running downfield again, then um, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, it's really kind of it's kind of nuts. Uh, But they're not going to roll back the rule, I would say, because then it looks like they're anti-safety. It's the same reason why they're not going to roll back targeting in general, because it would appear to the lawyers that they're anti-safety,
Yeah.
right? Anyway, just kind of an aside there. Defensively, numbers, obviously the numbers on the scoreboard, good. You allowed 10 defensive points. The kick return, it is what it is. You had a couple guys get out of their lane. You've got basically like bunched to the one side and totally spread out in the other, and like a 14-yard gap. I know the fake slide is illegal now, by the way. It was pretty when Pickett did it, but yeah, I I think they should make late slide, like super late sliding. I don't know. I think they should make that part of it reviewable for the late hit. Like if the guy's already in the tackling motion when you slide, like if he's already bending down, you shouldn't be able to get a penalty on that.
Mm-hmm.
2 of 13 on third down is good. I think the general plan was that they would not, Virginia Tech would not be able to consistently drive the football on you, and you didn't want to allow explosive plays. Drones is a horrific passer of the football on a down-to-down basis. I think they did not want to give the Hokies wide open stuff down the field off play action. So they played this game out of too high. And we need to keep that in mind. They didn't play a ton of one high stuff. It was a lot of shell. We can say, hey, like they should have dominated this more. I don't know that was necessarily the goal. I mean, obviously you want to dominate, but I don't know that like formationally, if you watch what they did, you can sort of infer their intent. And I think they were like, there's no way that we lose this game, or that it's even really all that close, if we can defend these guys effectively out of too high. We're not going to allow explosives down the field. Out of this look, Drones is not a good enough passer to beat us on a consistent basis. Most of his completions were either within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, which is indicative of what he is as a passer. It does feel different because they went 3 of 4 on fourth down. And I don't really care all that much about the 5 yards per play allowed, given how the one explosive came, and they allowed 313 yards. I am a little concerned about how they played some of the swing screen stuff, some of the flare stuff, and they allowed a 48% rush success rate. And we talked about, like, if you don't go out and dominate this team, I think we'll just know what they are. But I've seen 5 games now, and they're just not special at linebacker, safety, and nickel. And teams are going to continue to try to exploit those guys to make open field tackles. That's just what it is. That's where you attack this team. I'm not giving away state secrets. We have 5 games of it. Like it's. I mean, maybe Hussey down the line ends up being a pretty special player. I think there's some encouraging stuff that you saw from a physical standpoint, and I mean the one hit he has is awesome. But they got Deloach singled up in the open field. They got Jalen a couple times. Greedy got singled up, and just got to get guys on the ground. Got to be in better position. Got to see what they're just not. I don't know that those guys are starting on teams that we're seriously talking about for the national title, and teams see that because there are some guys on this defense who are good players. And I thought, why am I blanking on this name? I thought Cypress had a pretty good game. Verse obviously had a big time game. 11 got out of position a couple times, but like had some good pass rushes. Turner did some good things. You're solid in the middle of the defense, but that's where you're being attacked right now. And I don't have a lot of hope those guys are going to get better during the year. The ones I named off, they're just kind of are what they are. They're not like difference making football players. Doesn't mean they're bad. They're just, to me, they're not draft picks. Like for the most part, and if we're judging this team on a can they win a natty conversation, that's a clear weakness of this defense. But yet they allowed 10 points, and one of the drives just had a horrific, non-call on the scramble, and 22 of their or 21 of their yards came on a 4th and 22. So if you look at it like yards that the Hokies had on plays that were unsuccessful, I actually think they had a lot of like meaningless yards. 3rd and 17, they get like a 10-yard pass, and not on a part of the field where you can reasonably expect a 4th down go. So that's a success for the defense. It's still yardage in the book. They did play a lot of guys though, man. They did not allow explosive pass plays.
Yeah, played a lot of guys. I think I have a little bit more optimism as to what the ceiling of this defense can be. Now, I don't think it's, through the roof, pardon the pun there. But to me, this almost runs parallel of what I think of the team entirely. I don't know that this is an exceptional team. I think it's a very good team.
Yeah,
And I just don't
agreed.
know that there's an exceptional team. I mean, Georgia looked exceptional this week. Okay. So you might be a year. Again, I don't want to set the barometer at national championship, but is this team good enough to make it to the college football playoffs? Hell yeah, it is. And I think you do that, and everything else is you're in the bonus round. And I think at this point that's a decent level of expectation. You've got a very good roster. You've got a better roster than anybody you're going to play. You've got significant depth at most positions. You've seen guys emerge that you needed to. I'm not a professional film evaluator, but I am becoming more and more convinced that Josh Farmer may be your best defensive interior lineman. That's a positive development for you. Jared is playing the way that Jared.
Is it
I think
good if
so.
Josh Farmer's your best interior defensive lineman?
I think so.
I think it's a limiting factor, though. Isn't it a commentary on the other D lineman on the interior?
Yeah, I think I ultimately have faith that you're going to get best Fabian Lovett against the best level of opponent.
Yeah.
And so
Load management, right? You said it to start the show.
Yeah. So you've seen some emergence. I think Pat has continued to develop as a player. Pat Payton. Linebackers, when healthy, are again very good. You don't have first round picks at linebacker. That's fine. You're not. And this is where I continue to go back to this. You as a program are not in a place to have a lot of first round picks because of where you've been over the last 3 or 4 years.
You're ahead of schedule.
You're not going to get the high school talent that ultimately most time evolves into first round picks. Now you've got what you did with Jared Verse and who Jared Verse is as a person is awesome. And I'm not discounting that. But the vast majority of the elite clay, so to say, is identifiable in high school. You sign it and you develop it. And this program has not been in a place until last year. You started to get the first pieces of it, of elite clay in a while. So continue to work what you've done in the portal, continue to develop the pieces on your roster. And that's just, I think, a realistic perspective as to where you are as a program and what you should expect the pieces on your roster to look like. So
totally, man, I am so same page with you on this. I think Florida State is ahead of schedule. Like they're
well ahead of schedule. Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, if you said, yeah, they're going to be like have the second best odds to make the college football playoff of anybody in the country. That's a bonker statement to say 20 months ago, right? Like they're really, really ahead of schedule. No team avoids doing dumb stuff all the time, but they are, I think, like a well-managed football team. They don't make a lot of really bad mistakes, which is in college football, like not beating yourself is a huge part of the equation, man. Like you see look at how we started out the show, right? It really, it is. We should probably shout some sponsors out. Overall, I was pleased with the defensive effort. Like you can quibble with the plan. Like you may wanted to see like more one high, even more blitzing, but I thought they did blitz some. Sometimes Vatek caught him in some of the misdirection stuff. But I think you went in and said, hey, this kid cannot beat you as a passer unless you give him wide open stuff because you mess up against play action, you overplay it, and they pop some stuff over the top to just guys who are wide open. What they have, like 2 deep shots. The one the kid pushed off and got called for an OPI because it was well covered. And the other one he just totally missed because, again, he's a bad passer. The only way you really lose that game is if you let them hit explosive plays over the top off play action. That's it. So I don't think that Fuller's plan was incorrect. It might not have been the most well calculated to get a shutout, but I do think it was probably the most well calculated to get a win.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? I guess. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. So, but it's always good when we know that the messages that we're trying to deliver for our sponsors land, and sometimes that comes via an email that somebody in Florida or Georgia or North Carolina has bought a house and paired with Shannon. Sometimes comes from your wife who tells you to make reservations on Friday night for the Syracuse game at Charlie Park. So
you bet.
I'm glad that she's listening, and I'm glad that that it is it's the message is landing, so to say. So we've talked a lot about the menu that they have. It's a fantastic restaurant with some really wonderful options. I would encourage you to go look at their menu. But no, Charlie Park is a fantastic, great place. Unlike anything else that's available there in Tallahassee, it is Tallahassee's best rooftop bar. And I think really, I mean, there's some other, yeah, no, it is Tallahassee's best rooftop bar, definitely. And it's
Yeah,
a great setting right there next to the AC Hotel over there in Cascade Parks, or Cascade Park. And it is a place where I will be. And it's a place where I would encourage you to make reservations, whether it be Friday night or Sunday brunch or whatever else. Great place that we're fortunate to continue to be able to work with.
dude, they are an awesome partner of ours. And let's talk a little offense. All right, so pretty pleased overall with what I saw. Um, Came out a little more spread formations in the game, and I think that was pretty obvious from Jump Street. A little more three receiver stuff, and a little more detached tight end stuff, right? Whether that was Morlock for the most part, occasionally Biscuit. Uh, I wonder if Jordan's not more comfortable operating out of the spread as opposed to some of these more condensed formations. In addition to Jordan's comfort level, I also wonder. Um, do you think some of the O linemen are more comfortable playing out of the spread? Now that may seem counterintuitive, but there are less guys in the box. It could have a clearer picture for them
Hmm.
as a run blocker, right? And I mean, pass pro has largely been excellent this year. So uh, I kind of wonder if that helps them because like they had fewer like there were fewer times in this ball game where I'm like, wait, why is he passing that guy to try to go block that guy? Like maybe the rules or the execution of the rules are simplified out of some of these spread formations in the run game.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I mean, you watch more national ball than I do. I don't know that I've seen an offensive line with like a legitimate rotation quite like this one does in quite a while. I mean,
yeah,
you're bringing Rob Scott back at tackle, Keandre Jones. My lord, man, if that guy gets you, you're done. I mean, I understand that you're working him in situationally, but that is just like, there's some highlights of that guy that are just humorous. He gets his hands on you, and I don't care if you're 295 pounds, you're in a hell of a lot of trouble. So I think that's just what they're going to do. Continue to work guys back, continue to get healthy there. We'll say that if you can get like a full healthy Rob Scott back by Duke or even the Miami game, that's a pretty it gives you so many different options. Ultimately, again, not a doctor, not making any kind of official statement, but just from interacting with Bless Harris, I think it's not a it's not something that's going to see him sidelined for a long, long time.
agreed. Yeah,
So
that's the vibe I got too.
I think that you're going to have pieces back here and continue to work with Roddick and Meach at guard and if Mo, you just do whatever you can to keep Mo as healthy as possible. But again, kind of with the defense, I think there's room for the offensive line's ceiling to or that you haven't quite reached it. It's not, like best in the country type ceiling or something like that. We know, we have a legitimate idea. But this unit can be, good to very good. And I think they're still trying to find their way to it.
Agree with you on all counts there. I do. I think it's becoming more popular to rotate
Is it
throughout the
okay?
country. Like I'm not saying all these teams are doing it, but if you have I mean, like if your third best guy isn't that much better than your seventh best guy, sometimes it may make sense to rotate like they're doing. They're clearly trying different combinations. I'm fairly excited about this offensive line's potential as we work through the month of October. I don't think it's going to be dominant. There are some defensive lines that I think would absolutely destroy them if you had to play. Like you're just going to have to get good matchups if you do make the playoff. But I mean, yeah, Washington played pretty well on the day. I thought like that's probably the best we've seen Darius play ever.
Yeah.
So it's good to see him. You wonder, a guy that has that many injuries. It's like, man, maybe he's just maybe that is what he is. But I was pretty impressed. I know Vatek's defense sucks, guys. Like they do, but still, I thought he played well. To find a place for him on this line, as you mentioned, Jones. You get like Scott and Harris back. Byers obviously is a guy with a lot of physical ability. Sorry.
So yeah, your Byers, whether it be guard at tackle or where you ultimately put him, I think there's a reason that guy was as highly sought after as he was, and physically speaking, he's one of the more impressive pieces out there on the offensive line. You good, dog?
Man, like my eyes super watery and never. You ever feel like you had to sneeze and it didn't come? Like that was just didn't have to sneeze. Wow. Yeah, I'm good. I thought they tried to dictate to Jordan, they being the coaching staff, early in this game. You had you saw some early non-read runs called for him, right? You had like a quarterback counter, you had quarterback sweep, trying to get him involved where it take advantage of situations where they may just have one guy on him and you can block that guy, and then you get him one-on-one with the DB. He's a hard guy to bring down, and his legs, to me, remain the most dangerous and most impressive part of Jordan's game. So, making sure that he's involved in the run game, I think that speaks worlds about what his shoulder is or isn't. Right? I mean, you're not running quarterback counter as a 23 or 24 point favorite if we think this is something that's going to get worse, right? So, I view the play calling as a positive endorsement of what his shoulder is. Maybe I'm misreading that, but that's how I took it.
Yeah.
They ran some more designed RPO stuff for him, it looked like, in this game. Now, I think they've run some of this stuff too, but the fact you're running out of the spread formations may open up different looks for it. And he hit him. I mean, he threw one to Morlock. He threw a couple to Johnny. Making sure that he's cool working some of the underneath stuff is going to be a continued thing, because he's at times he's still really swinging for the fences. And I don't fault him for it on the ball to Ja'Kai. Obviously, Ja'Kai's open. It's not a bad throw he makes either. It's a touchdown if the guy doesn't just grab Ja'Kai like crazy. But I mean, I liked some of the tempo stuff early. I think he's pretty comfortable operating at tempo and just going. But there's still some concerning stuff here that there's certain guys on this team I don't think we can get much more out of. And I do think that there's a possibility that we can get more out of Jordan, and we're going to need to.
No, I mean, again, we're putting this through the filter of who they were playing last week. We know that, and we expected. Look, I think we said if you don't have a big day in the running game, then there's cause for concern. But that was much more. That was more similar to the offense at the end of the year that was so dynamic as far as seeing Jordan with his legs, seeing Trey being the super explosive back. Those are positive signs. And again, we'll just have to see if that's something that continues to show itself, or if it was just reflective of the matchup. But that is flashes of what this offense can be. And, you have Johnny having the day that he did, and Keon's not going anywhere. Keon's Keon. So I think ultimately you can continue to have success, or you can continue to have confidence that this offense at its peak is something that if it's clicking and it's firing on all cylinders, then yeah, that's maybe how you do win a playoff game. Maybe this team can win a playoff game 49-42. It absolutely can. So we'll see.
Totally. I the underthrowing of the deep balls, the weird fadeaway stuff. I mean, he's cost himself money in the draft. There's no doubt in my mind. Like, he's not playing as well as he did last year at times. And like Jordan, I do believe he still has it in him. Like, because I've seen him play in spurts at that high level. If Florida State is going to go undefeated, they need Jordan to raise his level of play. If he plays like he has been playing, they are absolutely, Miami's a losable game. Florida is a losable game. If Jordan keeps playing the way he's been playing, Duke, if they get Leonard back, which I don't anticipate, but Elko did say yesterday that he's day-to-day, which, okay, I'll believe that when I see it.
As Sports Center back in the day used to say.
But with Leonard, like, that is a potentially losable game if you don't, like, but it's not losable if Jordan plays like we know Jordan can play. Just hasn't played the way we know we've seen him play before for long enough stretches. We got like 20 minutes of it against LSU. His touchdown interception ratio right now is great. He's also, I think, had 4 or 5 interceptions dropped this year. If the guys just catch the balls, the defensive backs catch the balls that he throws to them, we're having a lot different conversation. And so that's why, like, we've always on this show been dedicated to, like, not just commentating to the result and commentating to the quality of play on the field, win or lose, and sometimes people get mad that we don't like freak out about the losses enough, which thankfully there haven't been any, or, maybe celebrate some of the wins enough, but that's a spot on this team that I think can get better. I think he, like we've seen him play at that higher level. Right now, I don't think he's playing like a Carson Beck or like a JJ McCarthy. I'm not seeing that from him. It need better out of it. You have a ridiculous receiving core. The numbers should be better, I think. So, I mean, that's just my take on it. Obviously, you're undefeated. You're playing well. You're gonna win 10+ ball games. But if you want to win 12, if you want to win 13 ball games, if you want to win a playoff game, you need more, which I think maybe you can get. I also think that they watched the Ole Miss LSU game. I saw a lot of what Lane Kiffin did to LSU run game wise in this ball game.
Okay.
And I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? That would have been a game they would have watched, right?
So they're always attempting to optimize their offense, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, and Lane is one of the best respected play callers, as is Norvell, and that was during the bye week.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a pretty good chance that they're watching that game to see, and I mean, especially, like, you would just naturally say, wait, how did Ole Miss have 700 and something yards, right? A lot of that pistol stuff, Ole Miss evened up the formations. It gave LSU fits. Ole Miss had not run the football effectively at all this year, much like at times at FSU. You saw some of the down and G scheme stuff in this game. I thought it was more just, kind of quick G stuff. But look, I'm not saying the run game's fixed because the Hokies' run defense is terrible. But I did like that you're getting Benson hitting it downhill. And if you get him through the line, he's a really hard guy to tackle with a head of steam.
Yeah. So Mike may incorporate things from Lane Kiffin to optimize his offense, and you can incorporate things that 12 other Nolecast listeners have done to optimize your business, should you so be inclined to talk to our good friends at Congruity. Matt Lewis is a guy that, as I say all the time, we wholeheartedly endorse. I personally have used him basically at every business stop that I've had recently, and in the 2 businesses, whether it be the Nolecast business or the Battle's End business that I have a little bit more of a direct say in. So Matt Lewis, fantastic guy for many a Nole, and Congruity is somebody that we would wholeheartedly suggest that you at least give them a call, see if there's not a better way to run or optimize your business, whether it be payroll, HR, onboarding, or many other services. In fact, they have a healthy offering of benefits that we've been taking advantage of as well over there. So congruityhr.com is the website, and as I'm fond of saying, please feel free to reach out to me for a third-party introduction, should you so desire.
Something else I would fully endorse: perimeter blocking in this game. Very
Yes.
nice, high effort. Like, you don't spring those runs if you don't get nice blocking efforts from Morlock and Keon and those guys on the edge. Another guy I
Keon
should
was
mention.
blocking from the first play
Yeah,
of the game. He was blocking. It's almost like that guy's going to be a high draft pick, you know?
yeah. I think they hit on that one.
He's almost doing the things that are needed to show everything to the boys on Sunday. Absolutely.
Interesting comp here. Benson is Leonard Fournette. His touches, and yeah, that's actually not a bad comp. Like, Fournette is not a guy that was great with a lot of traffic in front of him, but like, if you got him going downhill, obviously he was extremely hard to stop. Yeah, I don't think Fournette out of high school was pretty generational, and Benson is really, really gifted. So it's not a crazy comp. And I agree with the style comp there. Another guy who I wonder if it helps with more of the spread formations when he's not detached, but like when he's your inline tight end, but you're out of the spread stuff. I thought Marquiston had fewer whiffs in this ball game. Like, he identified the correct guy to block and blocked him. And that is, sometimes your tight ends have not done a good job of figuring out who the rule dictates they should block this year. And I thought it was cleaner from an operation standpoint. So that was good. To me, you accomplished a lot on offense. Now, Jordan still went back a little bit to throw in like some of the deep stuff, but I get it. You have really good receivers on the outside. Like, I'm not anti-deep ball. Situationally, I would occasionally like to see more of the quick operation, pick up the third down, move the chains, have a higher third down conversion percentage. Be a little, I understand that the bigger games, because of your limitations up front, you probably need to be more explosive play reliant. That's just how it's going to have to be won. Against the lesser opponents, I would like to see a cleaner operation and a more consistent approach on third down, because you keep the chains moving. Have these sort of maturity as a 23-year-old guy. All right, boom, hit my last step in my drop back. I've surveyed it. I've read it out correctly. I'm hitting the open guy. We're moving the chains. We're scoring. But maybe they're just running this thing because they know in the big games that's probably not going to work that great. Like, you're probably going to have to be explosive play reliant in the bigger games when you play the really good defensive lines that you're going to face. And we've seen Mike consistently do that and win ball games with that. So, but yeah, we're kind of nitpicking here. They scored 39. Game moved pretty fast as far as a time of possession type thing, Virginia Tech did not really force you to bounce everything, which was interesting. So again, I'm not sure the run game's completely fixed, but I like the increased diversity of the run game. It does make teams prepare for different things. I think you showed some things that you can run some counters off. I'm not going to say what they are right now, but clearly they're setting up some stuff. I want to see some screens to Keon though against Cuse. Just like some quick throw it out there, kind of your now screen stuff. I go back to that Cuse game last year, like getting the ball out to the edge quickly. Cuse had problems tackling that. They had the same problems against North Carolina. Some shorter touches for Keon against Cuse could be in order. I think that would be. I want to see him with the ball in his hands.
I'm sure Keon would agree with you, bud. I'm sure he would.
What are the best case scenarios for FSU to reach the ACC championship besides the obvious one of winning out? Okay, winning out is clearly the most important one. If you want to rank it like games that you could lose and still make the ACC championship game, Syracuse, Wake, Pitt are the three in which would not have a meaningful impact, I think, on your ability to make it as a one-loss team. Miami obviously brings in some weird tiebreakers. I do not think Miami's going to go 7-1 in the league. But if they beat you, I think we have to assume they've got their problems fixed. So that would be the one you really, really don't want to lose. Duke would be my second choice here as far as the ones that you definitely do not want to lose, if possible. But we don't know about Duke. Like, they're favored over NC State this weekend with the backup quarterback. We'll see about that. Like, that NC State defense still ain't easy to play. We've
Yeah.
seen that plenty enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this has been an interesting topic of conversation for the past 4 or 5 days. Um, if you care enough about Florida State football to be an hour and 1 minute into a Nolecast, I can assure you that there's going to be so many different content pieces created around this ACC championship scenarios, and the fact that it's a new situation and you currently have 2 other teams undefeated, blah blah blah. You guys will not be in the dark as to what would need to transpire for Florida State to either make this game as an undefeated, which again, what did you say on Twitter? There's a 1% chance you think that all 3 teams go undefeated or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously the implied is probably a little bit higher because the fact that, like, if all 3 do go undefeated, it basically means like Clemson and Miami collapsed because Miami and Clemson play a couple of these teams.
mhm.
So it's probably dependent on that. So it's maybe a little higher, but it's not like a 10% shot if they go undefeated.
Yeah. Yeah. This will work itself out. You as a consumer will be flush with options as to further educate yourself on what these scenarios are. So,
There are very few scenarios that I can conjure up in which Florida State gets left out in a 3-way tiebreaker.
mhm.
Like, I think Louisville is the one that kind of has to worry about a 3-way tiebreak because it doesn't play the Noles and it doesn't play North Carolina.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those would be the other 2 teams in the 3-way tiebreak, and obviously, like, that's going to impact your strength of schedule. So, I am, as we sit here today on August or October 10th, I'm not especially concerned about losing out in a 3-way tiebreak. Just win the games you're supposed to win. Obviously, 8-0, you're in.
Mhm.
And yeah. I will. You can also kind of read into it in the odds. Florida State's odds, they increased this weekend to win the conference.
Okay.
So implied in that is the path you have to get there, right? I mean, like, that's a big part of winning the conference is making it to the conference championship game. This is not great podcasting by me, but you went from like minus 140 to minus 170 in the odds market this weekend. Now,
Mhm.
part of that is Miami, which is probably the second best team in the league talent-wise right now, losing a ridiculous game to Georgia Tech.
They did.
But
They, in fact, at 10:08, Miami did in fact lose one of the most ridiculous and inexcusable games. Even still, still true.
incredible. Also, I'm looking at the updated playoff odds on DraftKings, and you are the second best odds still, minus
Yeah.
150.
Second best odds for Florida State, and you definitely have the best odds of having the best home buying experience by partnering with Chad and Shannon, the legendary team. 844 FSU loan, 844 FSU loan. My man Bud has had 2 loans with them. More than 500, 515, 520, wherever we are at this point. Nolecast listeners have gone through that experience with Shannon, and I'm not playing radio. I legitimately have never had a negative piece of feedback on Shannon in any way, shape, or form. So 2 great guys, 2 individuals that are as passionate about Florida State athletics as can be, and they happen to be, great professionals in their field. So 844 FSU loan, 844 FSU loan, and a big thank you to the duo who have done so much to make the Nolecast possible.
They do a tremendous job. I love working with those dudes. Got last question here. Again, don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we're not playing the game, so we can. William asks, who would you rather play in the ACC championship game, North Carolina or Louisville? For me, I want no part in having to beat Drake May.
Yeah, let's not play one of the
Louisville
2 or
is
3
the
better
answer.
quarterbacks in the country. Yeah.
Like, Jeff Brom's a better coach. Drake May is playing just as good as Caleb Williams is this year. That in a 1-game scenario, that is extremely scary still. So, yeah. don't really want to have to go. Like, you don't like the way we defend mobile quarterbacks, huh?
Right. Yeah.
What about the mobile quarterback who's the best thrower in the league by a mile too?
Yeah. Play one of the better quarterbacks in the sport in Charlotte in December. No, I don't want to do that. So
hard pass. Yeah. That's about all I got, man.
Cool.
We got more stuff.
I think that's it.
Dino Babers had some interesting comments, which I think we'll save for the Syracuse preview.
Is this about NIL?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, those were interesting ones.
Yeah.
There's been some interesting ones recently.
Stoops last night.
Stoops' comments was okay.
I got some good stuff on Cover 3 on Stoops, and it's preview. It's largely going to be a defense, not entirely what he said, but in terms of the appreciation machine for Stoops.
Mm-hmm.
So
my impression has always been that they have a look. I don't know. Maybe this is inappropriate. It seems like they have a healthy NIL operation.
I 100% agree.
It's not like it's non-existent. I'll put it that way. So, okay, good.
Awesome, man.
All right, y'all. Enjoyed it.
If you guys are watching live, I will be live at noon on Cover 3. We're going to do a every other week recruiting show, really aimed at like college ball fans who aren't necessarily huge fans of recruiting, and just with signing day 10 weeks away, just kind of start letting people in. Like, what do you need to know about recruiting? That type of thing. So if you're into that, we can certainly discuss today at noon on Cover 3.
Let me know if you never need me to come on as guest, but
I will.
Because that's definitely something that I could partake in right now. All right, that will be a Nolecast. Appreciate the support that we've received. If you're watching live, if you could like it, as that's a very, very influential aspect of the algorithm. Otherwise, we will be back with you Wednesday or Thursday for a preview of the Syracuse game. Just another hey-ho sellout at home, but that's good to see. Good to see. So
people like watching good football.
Yes, they do. All right. This has been the Nolecast. Talk to you soon.
See you, buddy.